So one will be on Facebook and the other one will be on YouTube.
Yeah, this will be on YouTube. The other one will be on Facebook.
Just like the old days when we used to meet simultaneously.
Yeah. Just a little more challenging in a virtual.
Yeah, not just.
I was
like
gonna
the
say,
old
those days aren't that old.
days. It seemed like it.
All right, so you're streaming and you're being recorded.
Okay,
And
We
it's
can-
coming in right now.
okay. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Alan, could you go ahead with the roll call?
Okay, Ghost,
Here.
Cooper,
Here.
Martin,
Here,
all accounted for.
Thank you, sir. Okay, how about the minutes from our last meeting? We
Those
have,
have been on the website and the agenda for a while. I don't believe either June or I resent them recently. So the last meeting was in October.
right. But we have a record of them, correct?
Yeah, no, they exist and they're
Yeah.
on the and they're in the OneDrive, but
Right.
I didn't until right now. I didn't think to resend them since
Okay.
they've been in there for a while. But we did not and we haven't had a meeting since then. So since your October meeting, we skipped November and. But if you want to wait and vote on them at the next meeting when you've had time to read them, if you haven't read them yet, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah,
yeah,
we
let's
better,
do that.
let's do that just to be safe. That'll
All right,
work.
I'll make sure I resend those.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
Yep.
All right, any visitors out there? Steve, Alan, you see anybody on Zoom?
No. And no, there was no pre-scheduled and looks like
Nobody on you,
it's going to start the meeting with us, so that's good.
nobody on, this is on YouTube, you said?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, really only had two items to discuss tonight. Fallen Heroes Trail Project and the Reservoir Project. Let's start with the Fallen Heroes. As you guys know, we applied for the grant and we're kind of anxiously awaiting to hear if we've been awarded any money. I have not heard yet. Dave, have you heard anything concrete yet on that? Application?
We have confirmation from Preservation Parks that we get the 64,000, what is it, 200, Alan? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, right, 64, yep.
I verified there's no agreement to be signed. We simply provide them with copies that show that we paid the contractor, and they will reimburse us up to that amount of money. I
Okay,
have not heard from the county yet. I went on and looked at their last meeting. It wasn't on their agenda for the last meeting, and it's not on their agenda for the next meeting. So I don't know when they plan to officially award it to us. If
I
they
had
have.
heard from Zach Dowley from the Economic Development Office that we scored highly and that they were impressed and that Zach gave me a tentative number of $55,000, but he said it was not official until it was approved by the commissioners, and that he anticipated that as 2 weeks ago, he anticipated it would be after Thanksgiving before they voted. I was unable to get a hold of him today, but I believe that we are going to be recipients of an award in around the $50,000 range.
wow, well, that sounds pretty darn good, I would think. see.
Yeah, that's about basically 2/3 of the project. When you
About a
take
rough-
the two in tandem.
Roughly 120K or so out of, I think we had about 150 budgeted or estimated there, give or take a few thousand.
Yeah, Alan, you keep shortchanging me. It's over 75%.
Okay.
I want
Okay.
credit for every penny.
Well, so, okay, 3/4, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No
I
problem.
never
I'll
did
just
very
keep
good in
correcting.
fractions in junior high.
Yeah.
That's 64,000 from Preservation of Parks. How much was available on that one? I can't remember, Dave. Can you?
Yeah, both entities only had $100,000 total to give out. We were number 2 on Preservation Parks, but the first project only asked for $30,000, $35,000, so we got the rest of it.
Wow, that is
Cool.
fantastic. All right, good news. It'll probably be January though, it sounds like, before the official word comes from the county, right?
Well, they have a couple meetings in December. We might hear yet in the next week or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, because like last I communicated with Zach, it was just kind of he was telling me what the recommendation to the commissioners was going to be. It just had to be approved.
Yeah.
All right, that's fantastic. Well, I guess we kind of, if we're going to expect or anticipate that would be the case, we should look at what CT wants to do. I know, Dave, you had sent me a note earlier this week about a task order proposal to survey, design, bid, and the project itself. And included in that, you added a couple thousand extra dollars, if I'm reading it correctly, to do some additional survey work for the other half of the future trail that we hope to pursue at some point. And I think you want to make this proposal. I think it was about $30,000 worth of expenses. You want to have a reading on that in council tonight, if I understand correctly. Is that?
Well, I'd like to start the process. Yeah, we'd like to start as soon as possible. Once you get your official notice from the county. If it's your pleasure to proceed with the project, even if the county backs off on their deal and you're satisfied with the 64 you got from Preservation Parks and you still want to move forward, then we can go and we're ready to get it scheduled. Of course, 4 inches of snow didn't help us. We obviously can't get out with our surveyors now, but as soon as it melts, we could get them out there and get going. And so, in the interest of not having to pass things with a rule suspension in an emergency every time we have something come up, I thought if we could at least start the readings now, then maybe we could, pass it first meeting in January. And then 30 days later, it would be official. And so that would probably be a good enough start. If you're interested in starting sooner, we are too, and we would accept action of council with rules, suspension, and emergencies, but we're not asking for that. And we think that there's time to proceed in a normal process and actually have something not passed as an emergency.
Right. So presumably then, in tonight's meeting, we could make a motion to have council approve CT moving forward with the $32,000 cost allotment for getting the project designed and surveyed and moving forward, correct?
My guess is you'll pass an ordinance, but I don't know how you would have to do this to get us going. I mean, obviously a motion is just one reading and go. If you can do that, I'm fine with it. But if it needs to be an ordinance, because you need the money somehow appropriated or whatever, then we can have the 3 readings. So I should know better, but I don't know exactly how you need to handle it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we be putting the cart in front of the horse if we authorize the expenditure of that money before we get the official notification of the other money?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have official notification of $64,000.
Yeah.
And so if you're willing to move forward with the project without the other 50, then let's go ahead and get started. But if not getting the other 50 would make you not want to do this project, then it's not getting I wouldn't say it's getting the cart in front of the horse if you needed 3 readings. Because you've got another 6 weeks to say, you know what, we're not going to pass this, take it off and, take it off the table. At which point, that's fine too. We're not going to get started until it's actually authorized. If it only needs a motion, then yeah, we don't want to pass it tonight if you don't want to move forward without the 50,000 from the county.
Yeah, I think it's better that since we don't have final confirmation of the 50, that we pursue it normal channels and do the 3
Yeah,
reads.
and then, but
Yeah.
what we could do tonight is ask Mr. Bream to
Yeah.
prepare the legislation so that we're ready to have the first reading in the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
we can't just walk in there and say, I want to make an ordinance and have it,
Sure.
call it a reading. He has to draw. up
Dave,
a
didn't you
reading.
have it as an order, one of your action orders or whatever?
It's a task order
Task
proposal
order.
that I
Haven't
proposed.
we approved those in the past?
I don't know how I don't know how we approve it or how you appropriate your money all the time for the work that we do.
I thought, well, I've taken task orders for certain things. What comes to mind is the reservoirs. When we were gonna reward that project, you had, outlined what the costs were gonna be and in the form of a task order. And we author, now whether that, that probably didn't appropriate funds maybe, but it got you it got you started.
Yeah, and in this case, it looks like it's 32,000 would be the task order proposal.
Well, it's up to you. It's 30,000 to design the first half. I've offered that for just an extra 2,000, we can get the whole thing surveyed and put in the can.
Right.
I would then also offer, just for discussion purposes, if you go from 36 to about 47, we can design the whole thing. And that includes inspecting the whole thing. If you wanted to extend the project all the way to the southern property line today, knowing that you got $111,000 or thereabouts, 115,000, 120,000. Maybe it's to your interest to go ahead and extend it all the way to the southern property line and be done with it. But I just throw that out there for possible discussion purposes.
What would the additional cost to finishing completed, Dave?
It'd probably be another
This is 700.
80,000 more maybe in construction costs.
Yeah.
But another, like I say, it'd be another 15,000 in engineering fees. So it's, maybe 95,000 to 100,000 additional to get it finished.
Okay, so that must be, if I'm looking at the map and understanding the cost, it's not 720 more linear feet. It would be less than that because this.
It's about the same. It's about 700, I believe.
Okay.
The economy of scale is that we're not going back to the beginning and starting all over. The economy of scale on the surveyors, for example, is that they're already there. All they got it, they've already found all the property corners. They've already found their control. All they have to do is keep going another 700 feet. For us, the same thing's kind of true. We've got the face sheet done. We've got the general notes done. We got the details done. All we got to do is slap, 700 feet of a line on a page and we can get that done. And it costs us not a nickel more to bid the project twice as big as half as big. The cost to bid that is exactly the same. So you get that free, basically. You get the bidding kind of for free. And then the inspections are not quite, there's not a lot of economy of scale on the inspections because that is just linear as they're going along. But you do only have one pre-con meeting. You do only have one pay app that you have to review instead of 2, things like that. So if there was an appetite and I don't know that there is, and I'm not proposing or advocating necessarily, but if there is an appetite to continue this to the far property line, you basically get the same size project again for about half of what you're paying for engineering on the first half.
Yeah. I guess that would have to depend on the other folks on council and Kathy and the budgeting and what kind of money might be
You
available.
have $100,000 sitting around in some corner that you don't know what to do with. Exactly.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll just, unless Cindy, Dave, you got anything to add to that? I think we'll just in council talk about it and on the parks meeting review and report and see what Mr. Bream, what kind of advice he might
Dave's
have.
out today, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yes, Dave is gone till the next meeting.
Who's sitting in for him? Do we know?
But best of my knowledge, no one.
Yeah. No one sat in when he was gone a couple weeks ago or a month ago.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, when we can send him a note or something next week and let him know that. And we'll get some good feedback from council perhaps when you make your presentation. For the
Yeah.
Parks Committee report.
Yeah. And of course, we're meeting in 2 more weeks, another council meeting, right?
Yes,
Yes.
And
16th.
Mr. Bream should be in attendance or is expected.
Yes, he will be here for the 16th.
Okay. All right, very good. Anything else, Cindy, Dave, on that topic?
No,
Okay. How about the reservoir project? Let's see here. I was just reviewing some of the grant opportunities that are coming up here, and we have one in February, another in June, and I think one in November. If the schedule is roughly the same next year in 2021 as it was this year. And Dave Parkinson, you may want to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're assuming the same thing holds true in 2021. We would have a $500,000 ODNR Land Water Conservation Fund grant opportunity, November 1 deadline, or there's a 50% local share. We would have to contribute half, as I understand it,
That's correct.
and that would require legislation.
It would, but not until October.
Right, okay.
But
And
it would require, I guess I would say, a motion from council to direct me to prepare the application.
And that wouldn't have to be applied for until late September, early October.
No, I think the deadlines are usually November.
I mean, but you'd have to have that amount of time. It'd have to be approved and legislated September, October.
I would tell you that we would prefer that you legislate it in February or March. These are federal dollar applications. These are not simple applications like the county's trail application. We have to reach out to other government agencies to get letters of commitment for things like Fish and Wildlife and EPA and other, Ohio Historical Society things. I mean, anytime you deal with the federal government, the number of strings attached are pretty onerous. So to the extent that you can get us, 4, 5, 6 months to work on this, the better our application can be prepared, the more competitive it can be.
Okay. Well, let's assume 200,000 is awarded. That means that we have to come up with the same amount of money, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that would have to be then constructed the following year, 2022, for that budget. That's where that budget in 2022 would come into play. Right, Alan?
Yes. Yeah. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't be awarded until probably well into 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a 22 project from a budget standpoint.
And what happens if it's awarded, Dave, and we don't have the matching ability and funding? We can decline it?
I would think that you could, but you're
I hope not.
You're not likely going to ever get another nickel out of them. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be a really bad thing.
yeah, I think it would be.
we just have to be prepared to,
Which is why the authorizing ordinance to submit is required as part of the application, because it's kind of a commitment by the village. It says, yes, we are authorizing, Alan to submit this and to execute an agreement.
and to spend up to
Yeah,
potentially $500,000 if we awarded all of it.
we usually put the number in the ordinance.
Yeah.
That matches our anticipated application.
Okay. And then there's another opportunity, hopefully June 1st, ODNR Nature Works grant. 150,000 may be available, provides, that's just
That's right.
a 75% reimbursement. That's just a flat reimbursement.
Right, you only need 25%. So, if you had your $200,000 project, it'd be your 50 and their 150. And that's for any type of public parks and recreation areas. So, work at the reservoir would certainly fit within the Nature Works program. And again, with a June 1 deadline, we'd like to get started on this in January.
Mhm. And of course, there's one February 1st I saw too, and another ODNR due on February 1st. Is that correct?
The February 1st one is primarily trails and trailheads.
Okay. Well, we got that covered for now. So it looks like,
And that's a 150 max, but it's an 80-20 split. So they'll pay for 80% of the project up to $150,000.
and I'm guessing your advice would be to apply for both the ODNR Nature Works for the June 1, 150,000, as well as the big one in November, correct?
Well, those are primarily the two that would help you with the reservoir project. The Clean Ohio and the rec trails are mostly trail projects, assistance. And so those would be opportunities if you wanted to pursue the fallen heroes up to the high school. But February will be a little tight, and I don't know that we're going to get ODOT to get us answers by February.
Have you heard anything from, let's mention that ODOT. I guess you haven't heard anything at all.
I actually got an email from ODOT maybe Monday, and I sent him an answer. He couldn't find where, I don't know if I had this conversation with you, but when I was talking to ODOT about that, and I said, well, we just want to put it where the crosswalks are. And they looked at me and they said, crosswalks? We don't have crosswalks on Route 3. That's limited access. I said, no, we have crosswalks there. And I could tell that they were just stunned to hear that. And so he sent me a pretty terse little email on Monday that said something to the effect of, they can't find anywhere where Sunbury got a right-of-way permit to put those sidewalks in. And he wanted me to give him documentation on how we built those. So I sent him the ODOT plans that put those sidewalks in. So we'll see what he says. He hadn't gotten back to me on that. But they were actually put in as part of the Kroger project. That was the off-site roadway improvements as part of the Kroger project. And so it was actually an ODOT set of roadway plans. So
Okay.
certainly would have
So
approved
did you
them.
tell him we have crosswalks at 3 locations on Route 3?
You kind of broke up on me, Dave. Can you try it again?
Did you tell him we have crosswalks at 3 locations on Route 3?
He's more concerned with 36,
Because
37.
we have them at 37, we have them also at Granville Street, and we also have them down there going back into Sunbury Meadows. There's crosswalks on all three of those intersections.
I think Sunbury Meadows might be outside the limited access. And I think Granville, we got a limited access break for that. No, I didn't tell him that. I don't, if he wants to come and find it out for himself, that's fine. But like I say, we'll see what he says, but maybe this is good news, that they'll find the documentation now in their files. They'll know what files to go look at.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to say, okay, well, yeah, we'll let you put a bike path in there. So.
Well, sounds like that's going to be several months before we.
I wouldn't think it's going to happen before Christmas, Tim. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, back to the reservoir. I'm not sure where to go with that, other than we got to decide at some point, probably within the next 30 or 60 days, what project, or if we want to go for the whole 800,000 and ask council to authorize us to have CT go forward with the grant applications for the 800 or the 500,000 and 150,000. Have you guys had a chance to look, Cindy or Dave, to look at the cost estimate sheet in any detail yet?
We haven't looked at any further than what we provided you. We've not done any
Is that
more
the one
analysis.
that just came through?
Yeah, I sent it over. It's 800,000 for the whole project, and of course that includes the pavilion, 6 foot wide stone path trail, two fishing piers. Excuse me. The pavilion part of it is roughly 125 to 150 plus planning and design. Includes a sidewalk. And if we add some picnic tables, I'm thinking the pavilion part of it's probably a couple 100,000. And then or we could just look at doing a start with a 6 foot wide stone path and get a path out there. I mean, that's roughly 155,000 plus a few extra thousand. So, and then the fishing piers, it's 60,000 per pier. Times 2, which is in the project proposal. That's 120,000, plus some planning and design and grading and staking and mobilization and site clearing. That all factors in, but I don't know. What's your thought, Dave, Martin, or Cindy? What do you think? How do you think we should go forward? Any idea?
I think I'd want to look at those numbers again before saying. Definitely, I like the path. That's a lot of money to just say right now without double checking those numbers, the itemized list that you just gave.
Yeah. And Dave Parkinson, you can help me if you like, but I think when it's all said and done, if we just did the stone path, we're probably looking at close to 200,000. The pavilion's probably also 200,000. Fishing pier is one is 60 plus the other cost. That's probably 100,000 to put one pier in.
So, Tim, am I understanding that we could, as a committee, decide to go multiple ways? We could say we're going to do the whole shebang, or is there an option where we could just do like the path and the fishing piers, or piecemeal it?
Yeah, I mean, there's always the option to piecemeal it, but again, I think because you're piecemealing it, it's going to be in the long run more costs because you're not doing it all at once due to economies of scale. But I think ultimately it's we need to have further discussion with the mayor and Joe St. John, president of council, and other members, and get their and Kathy and just get an understanding from them, I think, as to what kind of funds the village might be able to provide for us.
And you might have, I mean, I don't know that it's been completely determined how much money we might have as a result of potential savings anyway, on the controlling of the reservoir water levels. Once that technical work gets done, which has already been, was already in the works and been awarded, then we'll know what kind of funds available we have.
Yeah, I think that might be at least 50 grand potentially, right, Alan?
Yeah, I think it's still to be determined to some degree, but I know we've been looking, I think Tommy had the number of 400 and some $1,000 initially, and then we've pecked away at that by the demo of the water facility and those things. And those monies have come down some, but I think there's every potentiality that there's going to be some funds available. But and then when you know what those are, and then can put whatever additional monies we might have, then you can start to formulate what you'll need in the form of a grant to get your project, and whether you do it in phases or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Would it be a good idea or not to show up at the next finance meeting, which I assume is in 2 weeks, and have an open discussion with the folks over there about this reservoir project and the costs and the potential grants and what kind of money the village might have available for us? Would that be a good idea or not, in your opinion, Alan?
Oh, maybe, certainly in the form of an overview. The other thing to keep in mind, next week, I believe we've got the Tischler Bice folks coming in, and they're the ones doing the impact fees. And, they're going to do some assessments in terms of projects and things of that nature too. So that might kind of fold into potential funding sources and the like. I don't know the exact date they're coming, but that might be something to talk about at the fiscal or at the finance committee meeting as well, the whole impact fee study.
Okay.
Well, the advantage.
But I think it's a good idea preliminarily to get the word out, and we obviously need to have some decent idea of what it is we want to do and direct them that direction. But it's a large project, certainly the largest scale project that I've seen since I've been here. So obviously you want to give it good, thoughtful consideration.
Yeah, and I think I'll reach out, obviously, and talk to Joe St. John, Mr. Mayor, and Kathy, and get a better idea from them and as to what might be the proper course of action.
Of course, one of the strengths of the finance committee is that all of council sits on the finance committee.
Yep.
So everybody's present for the conversations. My advice, it's unsolicited advice, so it's worth what you paid for.
Please.
Is that you sit down with Kathy before that meeting and you have a conversation with her about all the things that you're interested in, all these things you've just articulated here this evening, and get a one-on-one from her and start getting some feedback from her, away from the spotlight, where maybe she can speak a little more bluntly, that, where she doesn't have to be so guarded in a public setting. And then I think it would be helpful if she understood before the finance committee, if this is going to be discussed at the finance committee, what kind of questions and information you hope to get from her so that she can actually prepare, as opposed to coming in and we start firing questions at her. How much money, how often, where does it go? I can't sit in a meeting and answer questions like that just off the cuff, and something as complicated as the village's finances certainly needs her to do a little homework before the meeting. So the more she's aware of the kinds of things that she's going to be involved with, the better prepared she can be to help you with these conversations.
The other thing we have to look at is phasing this project in such a way where if we were able to complete phase one and then the wheels fell off before we got to phase two and phase three, we still have a beneficial thing that we've done that is a completed something that people can use.
Yes.
So we have to look at how we're gonna phase the projects to make that work.
That's a real good point, yeah. Which is why, if you do the walking trails, you probably have to do the sidewalk up to the walking trails.
Right.
Probably doesn't make sense to put a pavilion up on top of the hill if you don't have anything to do once you got up on top of the hill.
Right, yeah.
So I agree with that completely, Dave. We need to figure out, what's 1, what's 2, what's 3, what's 27, and kind of plan it out.
And along those, Dave Parkinson, the other group is waiting for you, so whenever you're ready. But the other thing to keep in mind is there are a number of other projects that we've been kicking around as a staff and with Tommy and our internal group, a sidewalk repair program, a very comprehensive program that would take dollars. We're looking at tree replacements and things of that nature. We're looking at the potentiality of creating a stormwater utility, which would command projects. So you're going to have to kind of juggle all those or balance those and put them into perspective in funds available, because it's not just like Kathy says, oh yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want. You're going to have to kind of prioritize those projects.
Yeah.
I have to interrupt. I'm getting pulled in the other direction.
Yeah, that's fine, Dave. Thanks for that advice. I'm going to take that advice to heart, and I am going to go ahead and I'll engage, if it's okay with you, Dave Martin and Cindy, I'll engage Kathy Belcher, and have a one-on-one and get a better feel, do exactly what Dave Parkinson suggested. And then she'll come to the we'll both come to the finance committee meeting in a couple of weeks, more prepared to have a better discussion with them and get a good feel for what might be available. Then we can decide if we want to piecemeal it or go for the whole thing.
And if it sounds like an ambitious plan, and to that end, it might be one that's enticing to a local company, to maybe have a XYZ company pavilion or something like that, and maybe get some internal funding. I know Tommy's talked about that a great deal, about maybe the fishing pier could be courtesy of a local vendor or a company or what have you, and those kinds of things. But to do that, you got to have a plan, and you got to really have something that people can kind of wrap their hands around and get excited about.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. Did you guys have anything else?
Nope.
I think the best takeaway is the fact that staff went out with Dave Parkinson and Joe St. John and Tommy subsequently went out there and walked the potential route. I think you might have been out there too, Tim, the potential route in the old Orchard Park, and really got a feel for what could be done there. And then we've talked about if, the project itself, which we have funding for, if that provides asphalt pathways and kind of the highway, if you will, the straight shots to get through that there's a potential, really a great potential to put in limestone or mulch walkways that meander through that as well, that would complement that. So you'd have kind of your asphalt bikeway highway of sorts, and then you'd have your little off roads there that people could walk and not be in the main drag. And it does include those LED flashers as well across Granville Street.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that get done. Okay, that's all I had, guys. A motion for adjournment, anybody?
So moved.
I was waiting. All right, moved by Martin, second by Cooper. All in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
See you shortly.
All right. Bye, guys.